whispers and rumors that don't get reported. Stories I write that are often distorted. Got my notebook and pen, and I'm ready to listen. Tell me the truth, I'll consider your position. I've seen killers with eyes so cold and dead, and others go to prison because of what someone said, rotting away for the rest of their lives, leaving a hole here on the outside. Things are sad here on Earth, and it's no wonder why, when you consider the sociopaths who remain in charge. It's me who sees the system for all its flaws, and I usually start with the probable cause. My right hand is reading the probable cause. Welcome to The Probable Cause. This is a podcast covering the criminal justice system in Allen County, Indiana, northeastern Indiana, and the state of Indiana when it applies. I'm Jamie Duffy, your host and a locally based journalist. With me is our co-host, Michael McAlexander. He is also the Allen County prosecutor and legitimately an expert on legal affairs in Indiana. As you can see, we have a special guest who is very recognizable to the folks in this fair city and way beyond. Dirk Rowley is the longtime evening anchor and journalist at WANE 15. Criminal justice, the legal system, and the press are linked. We need each other. They misunderstand each other. And this podcast tries to bridge some of that misinformation. So you should all check out the growing number of legal issues that we've covered, and we will take any kind of suggestions as well. We've gotten a lot of reaction on the one enforcing SB 285, the homeless bill that passed earlier in March, which is this month right now. I do want to say this is a redux of the podcast we recorded on February 11th at Club Soda. We had some technical difficulties that had nothing to do with the space, but rather an equipment malfunction. February 11th was the actual first anniversary of the Probable Cause podcast with Mike, Brock Eastom, our cameraman producer, me, and my right hand, which we have very sadly lost in the past month. The first podcast and maybe a couple of others were recorded at the Allen County Public Library downtown. First one was a bit chaotic, but exhilarating. And since then, we have covered a lot of material in Indiana, and we've had a good time of it. We haven't torn each other's eyes out over anything. We have disagreed. Also on February 11th of this year, we invited the judicial candidates and the candidate for the Allen County prosecutor to come and visit us at Club Soda. Sam Kearns, who is an Allen County magistrate who's running for judge here, came and sat with us. We will show you that right now. We did invite all three candidates, and that would include Christina Gull, who is a deputy prosecutor, and Jesus Rick Trevino, a magistrate in Allen Circuit Court, to visit our set as well. Sam did come by, and so did Tessa Helge, who is the only candidate running to replace Mike, although we know no one can really replace Mike. And we have fun. Today, I'm delighted to say that Sam Kearns has already dropped by. If we want to turn the camera on him, he can introduce himself for a few minutes before we get started on Dirk's rise in the TV and broadcast industry. Hello, Sam.
Take a long time. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
I don't think it was any surprise that you filed to run for judge.
No.
Were you in the prosecutor's office before you ever started?
I was, yeah. I went from probation officer. I was a probation officer while going to law school, so full-time job, law school on the weekends. Then became a prosecutor, was there for 6 years. Magistrate Schmall, my predecessor, retired, and there were several people that applied for his position, and the three judges at the time chose me as his replacement, and that's where I've been since 2011.
And I must say that I've been in your courtroom many a time. You're very efficient.
That's
very businesslike. I don't know how many cases you push through a day. It's got to be 100.
There have been days where it's been over 100. Today, I want to say we probably handled about 80, 85 cases today.
Wow. And that's the initial hearings. That's
trial settings. There's a lot of quick hearings, but necessary hearings that need to be done.
Right.
So yeah, it is a fast pace. It is high volume, and it needs to be efficient because the attorneys they've got to do their job in front of me, but they've got to do their job in front of the other judges and magistrates as well.
Yeah, and I'm sure they appreciate it because half of those defense attorneys, they may be in Allen County this morning, they may be up at
Correct.
Elkhart this afternoon.
Yep. So yeah, being respectful of everybody's time is important.
Right.
He
So,
also handles almost all of the guilty pleas. The plea agreements that are filed go through him first for the factual basis and the advisement of rights. And then they may be sentenced by the judge.
Correct.
But he handles that part,
right.
which
So,
is critical to the
Yeah, so then
flow.
those obviously take longer because there's a waiving of rights and a little bit longer process than some of those shorter hearings.
right. I mean, I do have a clip that I put together myself, very proud of it, as I told you earlier, where you do. I mean, do you agree to waive your rights? Do you agree to this? Do you agree to that? And then you do make them allocute. You don't make them just sit there like, oh yeah, I'm guilty, out I go. You make them say what they did, which I think is very important.
It's required that they do allocute to some extent, and I think some counties, some judges, some judicial officers, that happens different ways. This is the way that I've been doing it for a number of years. I think it makes a better record that way. We do have people down the road that say they didn't understand their rights or they didn't really plead guilty. You go back and look on the transcript of that hearing, and you can see we went through all the rights and do the same dialogue every time, and so there's a track record for it. And that's one of the reasons we do that, so that it makes a good record, which is one of the most important jobs that we have as a judicial officer.
I tell everybody you should definitely go sit in magistrate's court, Sam Cairns court, just if it's one hearing. And as a journalist, I do have a sense of humor. And it's like when I see some of those guys allocuting, mostly guys, but some girls, it can be interesting. I don't want to say it's humorous because it is serious. So anyway, thanks for dropping by, Sam.
Thank you for
Really
having me.
appreciate it. We'll be following. Mike and I have an idea for a judicial panel, perhaps closer to the
Election.
right. It was Mike.
And the election on this is nonpartisan race, so they don't run in the primary.
Right.
They will be on the ballot in November. So it's a long slog for the candidates. A lot of appearances trying to get out. There's also a finance limitation on the candidates. This law was passed, I think, in 84, 85, and they put a $10,000 financial limitation on campaign funding.
It's spent just like it did in 84, right?
Yeah. It doesn't go very far.
No, because now we have the outside, because Supreme Court, the dark money, and
Yeah, and our statute might even be unconstitutional in light of Citizens United.
Like I said, we take the law as we find it, and we work within that law. And if at some point someone in the legislature decides we should change that, then we let our lawmakers do that.
it always comes back to the state legislature.
It does.
I
Absolutely.
do have some problems with that. But anyway, thanks so much,
Yep.
Sam,
Thank you
for
for having-
stopping by. We really
Yep.
appreciate
Let
it.
me know if you're having a panel. I'll be there.
Oh,
And
we
I'll
will.
stop by anytime you want.
Okay.
So you let
All
me
right.
know. I'm available.
So we are going to learn all about Dirk's rise in the TV industry, which started, I believe, in radio. But first, we got to do the courts. So, Mike, what have we got this week in the courts?
Well, I think we have one case going regarding an overdose death at the jail.
Oh, yeah.
So that'll be interesting.
Is that in Judge Gulls, Judge Zentz, or Judge Godfrey?
I'm not sure which one.
Because I looked them over. I didn't see anything. What is the charge on that? Do you remember?
Dealing resulting in death.
That might be Judge Godfrey because I didn't see it in the other two. I wanted to cover the murder trial for Diane White last week. I did cover it. What am I talking about? He was convicted and will be sentenced in mid-April. It was supposedly over a robbery, but if you had to uncover the reason for some of these teenage-type homicides here, you might want to turn to YouTube, where they rap about it. This one indeed was a feud between two gangs in Fort Wayne, the BSG and the BMG. BMG is Big Money Gang. The BSG is the Big Swain Gang, which Swain was supposedly a member. I believe he got killed, I'm not sure. I was telling Mike and Dirk, I'd love to be in the room when they come up with their idea of what their gang is going to be and try and intercept. You know, it's like, wait a minute, let me take you guys out to Mickey D's. We'll all get cheeseburgers or whatever you want. Let's talk about this. You knew each other from kindergarten or maybe even before. And so why are you doing this? Why are you getting guns? What can we do to divert it? What have you guys got? Your thoughts on that?
The gun culture is really difficult to understand.
Yes.
It is so deadly, so senseless. I have a pet theory that when the legislature got rid of handgun permits, it changed people's thinking, that they believe that somehow the law about self-defense, the laws of battery, the law against pointing a gun at other people went away. So now that everybody has a gun, they think they can use the gun however they want.
I agree with this.
I got a call this morning from an attorney who was kind of interceding as a family friend, where a young man just got sentenced to 20 years for a shooting out by Pierre's, that he thought apparently somebody was coming after him, and he went, grabbed his gun out of his car and fired the gun into the car.
And was it a homicide?
No.
Attempted?
Attempted. It was originally charged as attempted murder.
And what did it get knocked down to?
I think he ended up pleading to attempted murder, but minimum sentence of 20.
He still got 20 years. I don't know why he didn't go for self-defense. If he thought somebody was shooting at him and he could...
Surveillance video.
Oh. You know, these days, and these guys here, they need to understand too, that they're going to get caught by the homicide. We've gone over this over and over again. The homicide unit just doesn't let anybody, although we did find out last week that the homicide of Jaden Morris is still unsolved, not cleared, waiting for somebody to come forward on that. And he was a bright light. Apparently he was getting caught up in some of this stuff, but he made it out of Southside onto the University of St. Francis Gridiron. And then at the tender age of 19, he gets killed. But it looked like it was retaliation. You can find my coverage on all of this on www.theprobablecause.com or our Facebook page by the same name. So anyway.
But the gun culture it seems like it's getting worse. And that is so tragic for the families, because on a lot of these cases, if you commit that crime with a gun, you're essentially going away for a life sentence.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the 65 years, 85 years, if you're 25, 30, you're probably not coming out.
Yeah, I know. Well, even with the time cuts and all the kind of shenanigans that go on with some of these sentences, I've heard people... I'm working on a story with that right now. It's like, wait a minute, I don't understand.
But again, if you listen to teens, they assume other teens have guns.
Yeah.
So that assumption has become self-fulfilling, because the other teen has a gun, I need a gun, so.
Yeah, they do it for protection.
Yeah.
That is a verse in my song, if anybody's listening to that still. So anyway, I would love to have people read. I know I was going to ask one of these rappers to take my song and do their own version of it. I still need to contact them. Wouldn't that be fun? Because I know they'd probably get a kick out of it too. So anyway, as I said, on to Dirk, because I am just so happy that he's come on, because you know, he's been around here for a while. I consider him truly a journalist in town and a treasure. And before we get into the wish list for the press and the criminal justice system and court coverage, let's hear how you got into the business in the first place, because we like to hear people's stories. And Dirk isn't one of those who puts every single moment of his life out there. I don't know if we could call him an enigma exactly, but, you know, we don't, you're kind of like me. I don't put a whole lot of stuff that's personal on either one of my pages at this point. When I lost Stacy, of course, you know, I put something out there, but it wasn't it wasn't just on and on, if you know what I say. So go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to start with the Stacy story that I had. So we were talking. We'd had coffee about when you were at the paper about coming over to WANE, and I think you decided to. And I was at a scene where she was, and I'm not sure in the dark that I necessarily recognized her, but I certainly did not know the relationship that you two had.
It developed over the years.
And
it's
so
true.
she said to me, as we're out there, she said, "Oh, and I heard Jamie Duffy's coming to WANE." At this point, nobody knew that. Like, I'm not sure anybody outside of me, you, our manager, was aware of that. And I was just like, I didn't even know how to answer that.
Yeah.
Because suddenly I was confronted with this truth that was 100% right, but I was like, I don't know if I can say that yet. So it's pretty funny.
She was.
Yeah.
I mean, she was one of those, we consulted on literally everything. And I was sitting in court last week, I didn't have the cameras, and I just looked up to her, and I just started talking to her, Who knows if she can hear me or not? It's kind of tantalizing to think that maybe we can talk to the people who've gone beyond.
So the quick story, if you want it, is I started in radio completely by accident. Thought I was going to be a lawyer, actually, at that point in high school.
Really? What kind of lawyer?
I had no idea. I don't know. It just seemed fun. I like to argue with my parents. So, and if I get paid for that, why not? But then I was in a speech contest at the Rotary Club, Marion, Indiana. There were 5 of us. This is my second year. I'd come in third the first year. I came in third again the second year. So I'm a completely average public speaker.
No, not if you come in third.
Out of 5, that's statistically as average as you can be.
I know, but to make it into the competition, you still had to be a player.
Okay. Or there was no one else that would do it at East High School. But the second year, the general manager of the radio station down there, one of the radio stations said, "I didn't really like your speech, but I like your voice. Would you want to come work?" So by by the end of my senior year in high school, I was working full-time at playing elevator music, 50,000 watt WMRI. Relax.
50,000 watt.
FM.
Not too
Elevator
bad.
music. Bad.
Yeah, the music, horrible.
So anyway, but I learned so much. I just became in love with broadcasting. Worked there went to Taylor University, which is again right there in my hometown of Upland. Moved here in 1989, and have been for the most part. There's 5 years I was in Las Vegas and South Bend, but other than that, have been in Fort Wayne since 1989. Got into TV in 2014, got into WANE as evening anchor in 2018.
Wow, okay. So, in other words, it was kind of a mistake that you got into it. But you were...
Radio, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then you loved it so much that you stuck with it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did you actually envision getting into TV?
I told people I will never go into TV. When I was in radio, because why would I want to? It horrified me. But
really?
Yeah, I think any sane person thinks they look terrible on camera, right? Am I wrong?
Yes.
I mean, I just it's like I got used to my own voice. That was pretty good. A lot of people react oddly to their own voice. I was like, okay, I can handle that. But to watch myself on TV, whew, yikes.
I know. I'm very critical of
And
myself.
then news, again, I was in a personality radio station. I never was the news guy. Well, that's not true. In Upland and at Marion, I covered news a little bit.
Did you have like a wire service and then you would read it off of
Right.
that?
I would read a newscast. That was different. But I mean, I actually went out and covered some stories. When the GM plant down there expanded, I remember covering that. And I was alongside some of the TV stations in Indianapolis had come up for that, or there was a murder or something, covered that. But it was, not what I thought I wanted to do. I was doing personality radio. And so to leave that and to get into journalism, again, it was like, okay, I got to sharpen the saw here and figure out how to use this skill that I had somewhere. Again, storytelling is different than journalism. They're similar, they're related.
Well, wait a minute. Did we ever call people storytellers back in the day? That has got to be something new.
Maybe.
I see ads. Oh, instead of asking for a journalist, they want a storyteller.
Right. I mean, I think storytelling is wider. Journalism has more standards and checks and rules.
Let's hope that there's some standards, checks, and rules in storytelling.
Because my theory in radio was, why let the facts ruin a good story? I can't usually apply that to broadcast television.
So you were really in the land of jokes. You loved telling jokes. You worked off somebody. Were you the straight man or the joke teller?
I was usually probably the straight man. I'd love setting people up, and but yes, that was, you say I'm kind of hidden, but for 15 years when I was at Magic 95, is the last radio station I worked at in Fort Wayne, that's all I did was talk about my kids. That's where I got my material. We were talking to moms in minivans, and that was the audience, and we were, the parent radio station.
Well, that's right. I mean, you do have a family, and like I don't see I've seen on Facebook, yes, I've seen pictures of your son and I think your daughter, but I was even unclear about how big your family is.
2 daughters and a son, 4 grandkids from ages 8 to now 7 months.
Ooh.
And we get together every Sunday afternoon and have lunch, and they're all.
Is that at your house?
That's at our house.
Nice.
So, yeah.
What do you cook for them?
That varies, but it's the only time we cook all week, pretty much, between me and my wife, who are empty nesters, and opposite schedules.
Well, I did bring up Sabril last time we talked too, because I think it's so cool that it's so obvious that Dirk is still madly in love with his wife.
Guilty as charged.
I know, and I don't want to make you blush, but
Too late.
she is a very special person, and it's just so neat when you see that kind of thing. What was it like growing up in Upland, Indiana? I think you told us last.
Oh, it was ideal. I mean, it was, leave the house when the sun came up, or earlier if I was doing a paper route, and you had your bike and you were good, and mom wanted to know where you were, like, okay, if I'm going to Matt's house, but I ended up at Dave's house, I got to tell her, and that was it. And then at 10 o'clock the siren sounds, that's curfew, be back.
10 o'clock at night?
10 o'clock at night, yeah. That was
It was that safe?
Yeah, oh yeah. I left the keys in the car the entire time. We never locked the house, the doors. Paul Harvey came to speak at Taylor University, and the next day on national radio said, "I've just been to a place where nobody locks their doors." And I'm like, well, we do now, but thanks, Paul. But yeah, no, that was, you didn't lock the doors.
Were you aware of guns? Because it's sort of rural down there too.
Again, in the same way that they used to have clubs. You hear the stories of, like, Concordia, I think, is one that has still a firing range in the school, and people used to show up with shotguns or whatever, rifles in the back of the pickup truck because they were on the shooting team. So yeah, you heard about guns, but it was for hunting, or it was never, anything criminal.
I know.
Yeah.
It's just like we're all confused as to. I think Mike had a great point about the gun culture, but it's just like we really don't even know what to do about it because nobody wants to talk about gun control. Just me. Now, I will bring this up again. I'm kind of interested in how Dirk's ancestors got to Upland, Indiana, because here is an embroidered drawing published about 900 years ago. It's called the Bayeux Tapestry. I've had this patch that I wanted to award him, says Normandy on it, because I think we both share Norman ancestry. So I can always get one when I go back there, but I'm showing this picture. I'm not sure if Dirk is the one on the left or the right, but I've told him that he or one of his ancestors was at the Battle of Hastings in 1066, and it's our secret, but it's now out. And part of it, as soon as I heard that name Rowley, I'm scratching my head. It was probably something like de Roulet, you know what I mean? But just everything about him, his face. When the Anglo-Saxons hated the Normans who came over and took everything, they criticized even the way they looked, and they said they had those long, skinny legs. So it's just like, oh my God. I would watch Dirk walk into the newsroom from the back door, his head way above all the desks, and I think, dang, that guy is Norman, if I ever saw anybody who was Norman. How in the world did they get to Upland, Indiana?
I don't know. I'm trying to figure out why I spent $23 for Ancestry.com or whatever I spent, because you've laid it out so well. I don't know.
It doesn't go back that far. That's the problem.
Well, I can tell you genetically where you're from, which is largely English and very little else.
Right.
English, Irish, Anglo-Saxon. But yeah, how we got here, I don't know. My mom says we had somebody on the Mayflower. I have no idea if that's true. I think everybody's mom probably says that if you're from the right country. But yeah, Have not researched. Don't know.
Well, you don't have the time right now, but maybe one of your kids could
If the library ever wants to offer that for a news story, I'm in.
Yeah, come on, let's do it.
Okay.
I mean, I've already figured out that I have Norman on both sides, but I don't look like you. Do you want to talk about your dad at all? Because he did go to Taylor University. I think you followed in his
He did.
footsteps, and I think he has an interesting history.
Well,
Would you
so
like to
the
say
interesting
about
thing,
it?
so I got my voice from my dad. My dad sang as opposed to speaking, and he sang on the on the stage of the Metropolitan Opera in New York. He had a music store in Toledo in the 70s, about the same time Chuck Surak had one here. And it's
wow.
Dad, if you would have just taken those synthesizers apart, you could have had Sweetwater. But he was a music teacher, and yeah, so it just...
Oh, he was a music teacher.
He was a music teacher and a businessman. He would go back and forth and do sales, and then, and then apparently get up enough money to go to afford to be a music teacher again. But yeah, no.
Did he teach in like high schools or just?
Taught high school, and then finished teaching at a girls' school in Toledo, all girls, and just did some fantastic plays and productions and musicals. And
Oh, wow.
yeah, it was pretty terrific. So.
And you were never in those plays or anything?
I never was. No.
Well, I guessed the last time, so I'm going to guess again. I think you're a baritone.
Probably true. Yes, I can sing in a choir. I will not sing anywhere else. Yep.
So I wanted to give Dirk a shout out because he is the reason that I applied to WANE. On May 30th of 2021, he sent me a Facebook message that was really super nice. He said, loved the protester articles this weekend, glad they trust someone to tell their story. I mean, what other journalist will write to you and say that, like, hey, I can't get that story, but you did. I will say that I spent days and days and days down there getting to know those protesters, and I do believe that's one of them. And so then I said, hey, why don't we have coffee? I hadn't really thought of working in television, although Jeff Newmeyer kind of brought it up when we were in court together once, because I was starting to go to the court, not always the police, at the Journal-Gazette. Put that idea into my head. So there we talked. He was very encouraging. He was professional. I got hired by Jenna Huff and Brian Greenwald and Joe Carroll as a multimedia journalist and learned a whole lot. And it's really thanks to Dirk here. So.
Well, yeah, because you had nothing to contribute. So I think it was your talent and your persistence. And again, I think if I can encourage other journalists that don't work for us to continue to get stories, as a competitor, it'd be great if all the other newsrooms shut down. As a citizen, that's the worst thing.
Yeah, we really don't want that.
No, we need more
We
people.
love to get the scoop, but on the other hand, we need a newspaper in a size
Correct.
town.
Correct.
A town this size, rather. And so you would hate to see anything happen to that. And yeah.
And even fellow TV stations, if they've got sources and they've got stories and they can do digging, fantastic.
Yeah, we really need that.
Yeah. No, I think, again, the public is better served with helpful sources of news.
Oh, definitely.
Well, and
can be trusted.
as a public office holder, how do we get our story out?
That's true.
I mean, used to be that almost any major felony would get a write-up in the paper. Sometimes that didn't work to our benefit because we had, it looked like the same crime, and one person gets 20 years, the other person gets 2 years. Those can be explained, but a lot of times they weren't explained. But in general, for us, we rely on juries to come in and a public to be educated. And if they don't know what's going on, and one of the changes that I've certainly seen is in that coverage, and I think I've said this before, when I first started, we were a beat. We had TV reporters, 2 newspapers, radio station.
Constantly calling you.
Stopping by, just dropping in. What's going on? What's going on? And gradually it's kind of changed that, like with TV, we get a reporter that, and we're a market that gets a lot of kids out of school.
Right.
So they don't really have the background in government or the law. So they come in, and a lot of times they've been given a couple of questions to ask and not really much follow-up.
Well, sometimes it's the photographer,
Yeah.
who has kind of been trained to be a reporter at these.
Well, and I
Right.
think our photographers in town now are the most experienced, other than the Yankees.
No, that's probably true. I mean, they are there longer, and they tend to ask really good questions. But sometimes they are totally winging it. I mean, they walk in, they've been given a time and a place, and they don't even know what the story is. And it's like,
Yeah.
here you go. And thankfully, I think public officials tend to be more patient and explain things. But it would be better if we could take that explanation and ask an insightful question that maybe you don't want to necessarily answer,
Right.
and ask those. And I think, that it feels like the beat system has gone away because newsrooms have shrunk. So if we put one person on this, what content do they turn if there's nothing to
Right.
cover on their beat that day?
Well, I do want to say that WANE really does a great job covering literally everything, and so I tend to be loyal.
Well, I appreciate that, but again, for anyone, it's hard to remember if you're particularly moved by a certain topic. Like right now, whatever it is, the casino, the
quarry.
right,
Yeah.
exactly, or the new jail, and that is your interest and the hill you think that we should only cover. There's so many other things that people deem to be newsworthy.
Well, if there's a new restaurant opening or a donut shop, Lord knows people want to know that.
I mean, people vote with their clicks on that. I mean, that's so frustrating. Is you can spend literally 6 months on a story, put it out there, and then all of a sudden, Dutch Bros blows you out of the water with that's what people want to read, and you're like, you know what? I get it. I do too. I care.
I'm going to make it up there maybe in a few weeks to see what everyone is talking about, because I do love my coffee.
I had to be corrected by the people in the newsroom, the youngsters, because I'm like, now this Dutch Brothers, and they're like, Dutch Bros. That's not you just say the Bros? Yes. Okay. I didn't know.
I never even heard of it until you all did a story on it, and then the lines are so long. People are waiting in line to buy a coffee, And I know in Auburn, because I go take the train a lot, I know that they have a Starbucks up there.
They have Starbucks. The Dutch Bros is right next to Five Lakes, which is another local establishment.
Oh, really?
Then if you go into the square, there's one of my favorite coffee shops right there on the square. I mean, it's just like
What's the name of that one?
Oh,
give a shout
is it
out.
9th Street Coffee? Yeah.
Auburn is a cute town.
It's a
I
great
like
town.
it. But I mean, that main drag there, you never know.
Gonna become Coliseum North.
I know. It's they should plant at least a few trees or something, Just my suggestion, Auburn. I think I want to say is I know he's dedicated to, I said it the last time, the one that you didn't say, he's really mastered the source where you find the checks that are paid out by the city and the county. You're really, really good at that. I never figured that one out, and doesn't want to give away a secret.
I'm not, I'm in no hurry to tell, but again, that's what I want. I wish we had more people doing, because in my work day, between when I come back from the 6 o'clock news and go on lunch break and come back, I'm a morning person, 30 years of morning radio. I'm usually toast. So if I can just mindlessly scroll through stuff online, looking for public records and documents and court cases, it
is true. If you're
of my time, and every now and then you're like, oh, holy cow.
What's this?
Exactly.
Right, because when there's a settlement, we should explain the city and the county and the state are under no obligation to tell you what it's for. So you have to track that check, right?
Well, right. And frequently they are under an agreement to not say anything. So unless, apparently right now, FOIA is what people would say, but the access to public records will trump that non-disclosure the way it is now. So if we ask specifically about it, then we can get the information. They can't.
What do you mean, ask specifically?
So if it's a court settlement and part of the settlement is neither side talks about it.
Right.
We can get around that if we ask specifically about it.
Can you actually, excuse me, name
If you
the
ask
person
for a specific document.
Correct.
Okay.
So, when we see that check was written to XYZ lawyer, what were the circumstances that caused you to write this check that is clearly a settlement of some sort? Even if the settlement agreement said...
They write it to the lawyer, not the person?
It depends.
Okay.
Sometimes you see the
Right.
person and it, sometimes you see the check to the person, sometimes you see the check to their lawyer, and then they are compelled to tell us what was going on, because it's taxpayer money, and that's the whole reason it's interesting. I'm not really trying to find out, and revisit people's pain. Obviously, if the city's paying some sort of settlement, there was something that went wrong. But again, the city's has no compelling reason to announce that we screwed up, and so we're writing a check, except that it's taxpayer money.
It is taxpayer money, and you want to know how many times does the court, how many times is this done? What are the dollars that are flowing? Does this pinpoint some problem like the jail? They're getting sued all the time, and the main people who are getting sued over there are QCC, which is the medical.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that one is really worth a topic. I know you're in touch with the public access counselor too, and this is all while he revises the 5, 6, and 11 o'clock newscasts. You have helped to train so many producers, and you're willing to cover people when they're sick all the time.
I think you're exaggerating, but okay, I'll just say thanks.
I witnessed it.
Okay.
I'm like, what are you doing there? It's Christmas. I'm just kidding. But as they say, you are a real asset to the newsroom, and I just don't think people realize it. I already asked you if it was your dream to be in radio and television, and of course, it was by happenstance that he wound up there, and he had a great voice. But let's talk about some of the perks, or should I say recognition, that goes along with these kind of jobs. Like when you walk into Kroger's, hey, that's Dirk Rowley.
Maybe, yeah, sometimes. You get that. Usually once a trip or something like that, somebody will...
What about, do you go to the Y still?
I try not to, no. I'd rather work out at home. Because of that, honestly, it's just a little weird to I don't know, work out in public when...
People collar you and start telling them, hey, you should really be writing this up.
That I wouldn't mind. It's the, hey, you're on TV and you can only lift 20 pounds. That's, ooh, respect, way down.
And then they're going to go on Nosy Neighbors and tell everybody that. They're going to take a photo, put it on Nosy Neighbors. And
but I like Nosy Neighbors,
Yeah,
Again, if our deadline is 5, 6, and 11, their deadline is 2 minutes. So let's just put it on right now. And we have no facts. We have no, but yeah, they just.
Well, but they can also tell you, hey, the SWAT team is at such and such a place.
Sure.
And they're almost faster than the scanner.
We're listening to the scanner, but now again, the downside is you'll see there's one that's my classic Nosy Neighbors. Why you still need journalists is they're taking a picture of a building with smoke just pouring out of it, and it looks like I don't know what is that's it was
a disaster.
It was a controlled burn going on right behind it, which is controlling all the smoke. And so, yeah, if without the perspective or without knowing what it was, but again, that one photo told that one way, Nosy Neighbors was exactly right. Something's on fire here. It was a controlled burn with, not really news, but yes.
All right, and some of the comments, but of course, some of the comments on WANE TV are really...
Digital Appalachia is what somebody referred to the WANE 15 Facebook page comment section as, and I'm not sure that I've heard it.
I mean, come on, it's like all of them.
Well, again, people,
Digital Appalachia.
I don't think that we invented, trolling and things like that. It's going on everywhere, but yeah, it's interesting to watch, and sometimes the comments make us laugh.
It makes us laugh, but I can remember when there were a couple that criticized, it was my article, but they didn't call me out. It's like, this person calls themselves a journalist. Why don't they go back and find out how many people were convicted of this, not just the stats on how many were charged? And I thought, if you're a journalist too, as you claim to be, you have no idea how difficult that would be. You might be charged 3 years ago and finally convicted, It would just be impossible to find out.
But this is also the area where misinformation gets out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it makes it much more difficult for the citizen who wants to find answers. without having legitimate journalists out there to know what's true, what isn't. And you look at some of this stuff online and it's like, go through 50 messages to finally glean something that looks like, okay, this is true, this isn't.
Right. And
Well, you often see the author go back and say, and explain what it was, but that wasn't really the practice at WANE. You just let it rip. And I wanted to answer that so badly.
yeah, sometimes though, there's an easy correction that you can just add to the conversation, the comments, and say, actually, in the article, we've said this or something, and sometimes that's effective. But again, like you said, I think people continue to just, if there's no real information, then it just cycles and cycles, and,
Right.
and people don't know exactly. But my favorite thing is sometimes when people are raising this question, and I can paste a link and go, we answered this 2 days ago on WANE.com.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, good move on. I like that.
but
So
sometimes there's local coverage you can count on.
exactly. When I saw my WANE peeps out there at the Home and Garden Show, because our pen from the Probable Cause was being featured on DKM embroidery right next door. So couldn't resist. I had to go out and see it for purpose, for myself. So I think one of the things that I really like about a perk of your job is that you are the Grand Marshal at Harlan Days.
That is a perk. Yep, did not expect that. And they asked, and they seem to appreciate the staff at WANE.
So what does it take to be the Grand Marshal?
Go up early on a Saturday and get in the back of a Jeep and throw candy and wave.
Throw candy.
They do allow us to, and they even provided the candy. And what's interesting is, especially in Harlan, a third of the crowd is Amish and probably doesn't own a TV and had no idea who I was. So it was
I don't know. I think they might be
very
funnier
entertaining.
than you think.
Well, so one of the first days on radio, I show up in Fort Wayne in 1989, and I'm working nights on 1380 AM, and I get a call, can you play a song for so-and-so? They're getting married tonight. And I'm like, who gets married on a Thursday? And they said, oh, the Amish. I'm like, how are the Amish listening to this request? And that's where you learn that they've got car radios in those buggies that are attached to car batteries, and they're cranking out the hits while they are, while the horse takes them home.
That.
Yep.
Oh, that would be a great Wayne story if you could get somebody out there.
I wanted
with a
to
buggy.
do the story. If you go northeast, I don't know which side of the county you travel, but almost every home out there now in the world of Amish has solar panels. And apparently, because they're self-contained, they're allowed. But I can't get anyone on Amish to confirm that with me for a story.
Except for maybe the city could, because don't they have to have
Though they're in the county,
a permit from the county?
I don't think so.
Huh.
But it's a fascinating story,
Yes.
because they use electricity to power things, their businesses and things like that. But solar power is apparently okay. So it feels like there's a shift. We just can't report it because I can't find anyone that wants to talk about it.
Well, that's very interesting, yeah, because I thought you were going to say they have people who drive them around. That's how El Amish got started on, is it Broadway? That it's a taco place, El Amish, because they used to call this Hispanic guy El Amish because he drove the Amish around.
Isn't there one of those in Harlan too?
There might be. I don't know, but that's how you say it. Looks like El Amish, but they say El Amish. And so you would have a radio in those trucks. They're traveling around
There you
with,
go.
If
If you're Amish and you're watching this and you want to talk about solar panels on your land, reach out. Jamie will put my email at the bottom of this
That's right.
Probable Cause.
That's right, Dirk.Rowley. Okay. We will do that. Now, let's just talk about also the Three Rivers Parade, because I know that WANE TV was always in there. And of course, I want to get Mike and myself in that one too. Is there going to be a Three Rivers Parade this year?
No. There would have to be an organizing, somebody to organize a festival. Pretty sure they are.
No, we're not going to have any parade this year?
No.
I haven't heard of
No.
the group that tried to put it on last year.
Well, they changed the name. Was it big festival. What was it? I don't remember. There was other people that tried to take over the space at that time, but the Three Rivers Festival is no more. Yeah, I mean, we covered the auction, and I mean, there's nobody there running. There's no entity that I'm aware of, unless they've just recently organized, that is called the Three Rivers Festival. They are bankrupt and gone. So,
And the group that tried to raise funds last year to put on the parade pulled the plug.
yeah, was it Mad Anthony?
Yeah,
I think they tried that.
I mean,
yeah.
they needed like 70,000, I think, and I don't think they got it.
Well, but again, as somebody who's walked in the parade since, again, the late 80s, parade attendance, that there was a time when you went to the bed race, that was the only thing happening on a Thursday night in Fort Wayne, Indiana.
And people loved it.
People, exactly. I mean, I was there with Charlie and Tony. You'd go from the parade to the Show Us Your Tan contest, which would draw 10,000 people. And it was, I worked the raft race the first year that I was here. And that was supposedly the second largest sporting event in Indiana, only beaten by the Indianapolis 500. There's 250,000 people that would line the banks of the river. And it was phenomenal. You can't get that. They tried to bring it back, but because we're so split in our entertainment options and things like that, it's just hard to generate interest.
Well, didn't Fort Wayne? I can remember when I didn't live here, but I would come back, of course, to see my mom and everybody. Wasn't there a 4th of July parade? I can remember being there and people popping up literally every time a flag went by.
Possibly.
We've always had Memorial Day parades by the Coliseum.
Right, and then Waynedale does something, I think Memorial Day too. It's quite possible there was a smaller 4th of July. I think New Haven has started a 4th of July parade, but that's just recently. Yeah,
they had the fireworks. They still do the fireworks.
Yeah, the fireworks have moved around. But yeah, it's just harder to get a mass of anyone to do anything collectively because we've got so many other options.
Oh, we do.
Entertainment choices and ways to spend.
And now we're going to have soccer games too that you can attend. I mean, the sports is really.
That stadium alone is like, I want to go just for that.
I know.
Yeah, it's great.
I passed it going somewhere.
Yep.
Did we pass it, Brock? I don't know. Yeah, I think we did. So let's talk about the hobbies that you have. What do you do in your off time? Do you sit there and do journalism all the time?
Yes.
I know.
A lot of it. Yeah, no, I mean, again, yeah, no,
the laptop is too handy, I think.
Right, exactly. It's too easy just to go down, because again, my most productive time is in the morning when I'm not at work. So that's when I want to go write or edit or things like that. And I do that from home. Before this meeting, I was at a press conference that was happening at the courthouse, mainly so I could take my phone in the courthouse because I had a special dispensation letter and I thought, that's fun, let's just do that. But it is, again, I like to go out and even though...
by the way, other courthouses around here allow you to do that.
Wayne
Wells,
was
Adams.
Jay County, I was surprised they couldn't go into the courtroom, but they could go into the courthouse. We took a camera, we were the only reporters there for that hearing for the truck driver that was involved in the Amish
that was a good story.
and crash. And again, but yes, I tend to work a lot. If I go golf badly, I'm pretty good at bad golf. Yeah.
It's the best way to be.
It's really, at some point, why would you pay money and only hit, 70 shots when you could hit 90 or 100?
Well, can't you, isn't there a driving range somewhere where you can just go let it all out by whacking the ball?
Yeah, that's no fun.
Oh, okay.
But you can.
Yeah.
And some people even practice.
Well,
It's a game against yourself.
Yeah.
but I was thinking more of like, when you go into a batting cage, throw the balls and you can.
You're talking about like go out to Bobix, the driving range.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you can, just kind of gets, release some tension if you've got any. These days we all have tension.
I think the reason I golf though is so I can, I like going out to show. It's small, it's compact. I can walk 9 holes in 45 minutes if there's nobody there. And it's the walk that actually benefits me.
I know. I love to walk.
Yeah.
But I used to walk downtown all the time when I was at the paper. I would see everything. I watched Drip Coffee go up.
Penny Drip?
Yeah. Well, it used to be a gas station. I looked it up. I wanted to do a story on that. That's historical. It's the cutest building. It looks like Romeo and Juliet, At least that's what I thought. Looks like a stage set.
I feel like this is the least legal probable cause that has ever been recorded. Like this, like he's gonna throw the SD card away, and we're gonna go 0 for 2 on this one because we are all over the map.
Oh, we are. But this, this is the fun about it. We get our legal interjections in.
Yeah. Well,
but I always.
It's because I'm from Normandy.
That's right, La Normandie. Bravo. Just kidding. We like to learn about more people. So when I'm interested in music, I know you were DJ. What do you listen to? Opera, because your dad sang opera.
Yeah, a little bit. No, actually, I've been to one opera in my life. And
I think we said it was Don Giovanni. We thought maybe it was Don Giovanni.
In Cincinnati. My brother invited me, went to that. And, again, fantastic. Respect the talent level immensely, but not necessarily something I need to repeat. I would say if it's new music, it's Christian contemporary. If it's...
Do you have a favorite artist for Christian contemporary?
No, not really. And then...
But don't you like the old hymns?
I like old, yeah, oh yeah. No, I mean...
Oh my God, I love those. Betty Jean Robinson. She came up on my YouTube. I listen to her all the time, and she's passed now, but...
But like, Johnny Cash, my mother's hymn book, I think is the name of the album. That's fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it's... So yes, I will go back to old country. I will go back to...
Yes, old country is so much better. I hate to say
I'm burned out on 80s, even though I'm a child of the 80s. Like, I don't need to hear any of that anymore. But, and in radio...
You move on a little bit, right?
Yeah, and in radio, before I came to Magic 95, I did primarily country radio at the time around Garth Brooks. So 90s country is... If they were popular in the 90s in country radio, I probably met them, and it's kind of fun. So.
Wow, you met them.
Country artists are super accessible. Oh yeah, they're very down to earth, very.
Well, I mean, Fort Wayne has umpteen country and western.
Don't say country and western.
But unfortunately, our hip hop radio station has now lost its DJ.
Yeah.
Big Keith and I are the ones that recorded my song, The Probable Cause. And I tried to get a hold of him, but I couldn't. I mean, I'm sure he's going to survive because the guy's a comic. He does all kinds of events. Maybe people aren't so aware of how popular he is in Fort Wayne, but still, I was so disappointed. Come on, Adams Radio Group, put it back on.
Again, it's hard to survive right now as people become less and as digital things take over. Broadcast needs a large audience to sell advertising, and as the audience starts to splinter.
Well, and people are on Sirius, and I have no idea if he's on Sirius or not. Everything is just changing and moving, and there's so many podcasters out there now. You can get one literally on everything. They just pop up. And so I'm actually going to talk about now, I know you are a churchgoer too. I didn't know if you wanted to mention what church you go to.
Yeah, no, we got to be part of Pathway out on Carroll and what is it? I guess it's just Carroll Road. They're not Union Chapel yet. So anyway, Carroll and Lima, we're founding members. We've been there since it started, and it's been fun to watch that church grow and and do
a lot of good.
I think so.
I mean, I remember when you all had a fundraising something or other for somebody. I don't know if you were buying somebody a van or something. It was raised in no time, but you have an awful lot of members.
It's a pretty big church, yeah.
Like 10,000?
No, I don't think there's any church in Fort Wayne that's 10,000. But I mean, really? But it's and not certainly not members, but attenders will get to on a busy weekend probably 5,000 maybe.
Oh, that's huge. That is what they call a mega church.
It is, but
I think you only have to have 2,000 to be a mega church, but not.
Most churches, I think, are 100 or less. So, yeah.
The mainstream churches are struggling right now.
True.
Definitely. But I had a thought the other day that I think they're going to come back. But this is not the place to discuss it.
If we edit out all the things that aren't the place to discuss it out of this podcast,
10 minutes.
You'll have, right, you have your introduction and him talking about the court case this week.
We always talk about the court.
I understand. Yeah. That's all we got. So.
We always talk about the court. So now we are at the point where we have an exciting event. I'm now going to offer Mike and Dirk a slice of, I can hardly say this without laughing, lemon pound cake. I don't know. I think it's in the car where I have my napkins and my, but anyway.
And neither of us understands this reference.
All right, so I got it at Kroger. I did go to Rise and Roll. They didn't have it, and I didn't have time to go with Bun Cakes. And I know nothing but Bun has delicious, delicious. But anyway, it's in reference to a win for freedom of speech this past week. Afro Man, who's a fairly well-known rapper, but not high on the list of Mike.
No, I remember the song from.
Yeah, the song goes, you know, I wanted to clean my room, but I got high. All these things he wanted to do, but he got high. So obviously, you know, it's not here in Indiana, you know, you can't buy marijuana. So, and he did that song 20 years ago. He had his home in Adams County, Ohio. I want to stress it was Ohio, not here in Indiana. It was raided. They didn't find the weed they were looking for, and they didn't find any kidnapping victims. But the sheriff did eye twice a lemon pound cake in the kitchen. It was kind of like on the counter. So I know, look at you. Look at how much you're laughing. So Afro Man wrote a song about that, and it's called Lemon Pound Cake. It is absolutely hilarious. And he used the body cam footage. There were like 10 deputies. This one was the sheriff, but it was his deputies as well, going through his house. They kicked down the door. He sings about that. They disconnected his cameras. He sings about that. A couple of his songs are so vulgar. I did do some research on this, and I'm like, no, I wish it didn't have to go to that length, that vulgarity that we have now.
So complete the circle. How is this a win for free speech? Because the police didn't want their
So
video.
anyway, the sheriff's deputies sued Afro Man because they said they were defamed.
Okay.
There were several things in the lawsuit, but one of them was defamation. And he did say some awful things about people, right? He accused one deputy of being a child molester. His brother had been charged with it, and he insinuated that this other guy was. So if you watch part of the courtroom coverage, you're like, well, I don't know, that sounds pretty bad to me, you know? I mean, but anyway, the sheriff's department did not prevail. Afro Man won. So this took the internet by storm because there were cameras in the courtroom for the entire trial. You know, from the first minute to the last. You saw the judge, you saw the defense attorney, you saw the prosecutor. It was really great. And Afro Man sat there, and they also had a court sketch artist, did a magnificent portrait of Afro Man, and we'll have to show a picture of it. He's sitting there in this suit that has American flags all over it, and then even his eyeglasses, his sunglasses have the American flag on them. And
would that fly in an Allen County courtroom? It feels like that would not.
Well, no, but I mean, he was the defendant. Wait a minute, he was the defendant. So aren't they allowed to wear? I mean, is there a dress code that we have to stick to if we are the defendant?
I haven't, usually in criminal court, we're getting clothes for the defendants.
Unless the family supplies them. I've
Right.
seen.
But I would think non-medical glasses might be, unless there's a. Anyway,
I think if it's something that would distract the jury,
Oh, okay, that angle.
the judge is in a position to manage the courtroom. So anything that would, maybe not anything, but if it was too provocative, like we don't allow shirts for remember the victim
Right, but
kind
I
of thing.
get that because you could sway the jury with that. They're already going to feel sorry for the victim.
so what was so apparently defaming a police officer, he didn't because why? What is?
Freedom of speech.
Because you can run up to the line and suggest that he was
a pedophile.
that you can suggest that, but he wasn't actually making the claim. He was just making the implication, and that's.
See, now here's where we need Mike, because I could not make that argument. I'm not an attorney. I'm not a constitutional lawyer, but it was freedom of speech, which is very well linked to freedom of the press. And they're saying that you had facts versus art. You know, that this was his way of
Expressing
his art. And so, but the actual victims of this, the sheriff's deputy who was accused of pedophilia and even, I mean, really awful. They were, I mean, one woman who was accused of something just awful, she was crying on the stand. Now, you see her in the body cam, and she's very casual about disconnecting the cameras in Afro Man's house. And they, you know, it's sort of like our SWAT team here. I mean, they'll blast out the windows and, you know, the glass breaks and everything else. And you just think, wow, you know, here in the SWAT team, I've asked the police this too. It could be that they're going after somebody who doesn't own that home. You know, it might be a rental, and yet you have to board up the windows now, and you've broken in the door, and there's a lot of damage that can be done. So Afro Man, I mean, a lot of people on the internet said, well, why didn't they just fix up his house, and then they wouldn't have had to go through this? But they didn't, and he brought it up, and he said, this is my right. He was very good on the stand. And so, you know, and also the song Lemon Pound Cake, he did it to Under the Boardwalk, that old song, Under the Boardwalk.
That one I know.
Yes.
You know, and I mean, and people were playing it over and over and over again. And you see the body cam where the sheriff's going by with his gun, you know. The Afro Man wasn't in the house when this occurred. And then all of a sudden he looks back and takes another look at the lemon pound cake. And that's the whole reason that he wrote the song. So it mocked them. And the sheriff there, he said that after the song came out, he got hundreds of lemon pound cake sent to him in his office. It just
Feels like everyone wins.
He was very, the sheriff was very, he didn't get angry or anything like that. He just looked completely bored and frustrated, honestly. So anyway, I just thought we'd end with, but all right, let's just go back to this too. We've done Afro Man, and I couldn't resist because he's been such a big thing. Is there anything that you wish the courts would do to make our job in the press easier? Do you ever think about that?
Well, cameras in the courtroom obviously is one. It feels like, you know, thankfully Indiana is moving that direction, but still it's discretionary. And I'm not saying that they should be absolute in everywhere. I don't know how that's worked in those jurisdictions, but it seems to be okay, as best I can tell. That would be something I think that would be helpful. You know, I honestly don't cover the court that often. We've done a story with Mike and that whole notion of, you know, about discovery and the uniqueness apparently of Allen County. I've covered small claims court. There was a student that got sued by Purdue Fort Wayne.
And you said there are 20 of them.
No, no, that'd be a lot fewer. Purdue Fort Wayne sues 1 out of 20 students. So for every classroom of 20, so that's 5% of Purdue Fort Wayne students end up going to small claims court because life happens and things, you know, a lot
of them just can't continue their education.
Right. So you're enrolled, you get a grant or you get loans or whatever, and you start the semester, but then you can't finish the semester because you're, you know, working some whatever less than college job, and you're taking care of family or whatever. When you don't finish the semester, you don't get any of the money, and so you are on the hook now for the semester that you just borrowed for. And again, it's taxpayer money. I don't don't blame Purdue Fort Wayne for wanting the money. There's other ways to get it. And I would suggest it's very disproportional, you know, use of small claims court when they've got a lawyer who's there all the time, representing them all the time, versus a student who has no idea. She thought she didn't even have to go because she applied, you know, for something online and never heard back, and so she thought it was over. Oops. So you get there's a default judgment terminology. So,
I know. I mean, I had
and all of a sudden she's got her wages garnished on a job that was not good to start with. That was the whole reason she was trying to go to college. You know, and in her case, she ended up finishing college. But yes, it's a crazy world. So
how much did she end up owing?
It wasn't a lot. It was, you know, again, it wasn't a lot. I think for some people compared to other cases, maybe $1,500. Purdue Fort Wayne has sued people for far more. They've sued people for far less. And so, yeah, that's and again, I think we want to do a story about how people should not expect small claims court to be like Judge Judy. And so we're working with the magistrates to do that. And they've been available. It's just trying to find the right time where their end of the day is about 3 o'clock, 3:30. My start of the day is 3 o'clock, 3:30. So getting us all together has been a challenge. But, I think the courts are willing to explain themselves to educate us, which I've always found. And I found your accessibility to be, I think you've always made yourself available to the media to explain, because it's not, I don't even think there's anything nefarious going on. I think there's just sometimes it's complicated.
It's the system.
It's exactly it.
It's the system,
Right.
and then it's somebody takes somebody like you to look at it and say, how can we look at this? The most frustrating thing I think is that a juvenile gets charged, but we don't get to see the probable cause.
It's 'cause there isn't one.
There is one, but then we need some sort of explanation about why he's waived into adult court.
Yeah, I mean, that seems systemically difficult.
Well, that's because it's done in a hearing, and there's a petition to waive them in that explains, at least in legalese, why we're doing that.
And yet they all are.
But we have to introduce the probable cause in the waiver hearing. But that's usually done by calling a witness instead of giving them a document.
So anyway, I wish there was a little bit more clarity and openness in the juvenile courts, because we're getting more and more juvenile defendants.
Well, and in the reason I'm here, I think it would be great if we had more beat reporters that could cover the police system, could cover the court system, could cover all of the legal process, because I think we don't have anyone doing that locally. And when I say we, I mean any journalist anywhere that is on top of all of it. But it takes dedication, and it takes coming by and visiting and getting to know people, and
Yeah, I mean, at WANE, you would walk in, you weren't really sure what you were going to be covering that day.
Correct.
You were going to propose something, of course.
Lee Kelso, longtime WANE anchor, called it just-in-time learning, where it's like you are literally making yourself an expert on this story that you knew nothing about at 10 a.m., and by the time you get to 5 o'clock, here's everything you need to know.
Yeah.
And
so that was pretty wild. I remember when in the springtime I had to go out and do one on allergies, and you're calling it perfect. Can you please go on the camera and by the way, I need an allergist or whatever it is. It's like
But that's an example of the change. I handled the waiver hearing for the killer of Prince Chapman back in the late 90s. And Larry Hayes, who was the editorial page editor at the Journal, sat in that courtroom for 3 days, writing and watching.
They allowed a reporter in there.
He was writing editorials.
Right, but still, that's
It's a public hearing, just like a regular.
It was. So, but you wouldn't be able to do that now. The kid was 12 years old, wasn't he?
Yeah, but if you file a petition to waive them on a felony charge, it becomes a public hearing.
And I'm not saying we have reporters who cover beats just because it's their interest. Like, I cover a lot of business stories. I cover a lot of political stories.
Yep.
I think I have a lot of good sources in those fields. We don't have enough reporters that we can put someone on all things.
Right.
I think we have city council down.
Yeah,
with
absolutely.
Ethan Dolan lives there, and he could tell you.
He loves it.
He can tell you more about proposals than some of the city council members because he's studied it. So yeah, I think there are beats, some of them, but not enough to have everything covered. It's certainly not in the courts. Since you left, I would say that there's been a vacuum of.
Well, we can make a deal. All right, so who wants the last word? Anybody?
Go ahead.
I don't want it.
All right.
I was going to say, though, it feels like I feel like what Ed McMahon felt like for years. I just naturally am drawn this way because she's asking the questions, and then I'm like, oh yeah, Mike. Hi, Mike. Anyway.
But it wouldn't be the same without. The podcast started with just me and my right hand. And then when she got sick, I was like in Mike's office once because I was doing a story on weighted measures. I'll never forget. I finally got permission to do weighted measures. And I was explaining to him how bad the situation was and how she was sick. And, you know, we had just found it out and everything. I said, Mike, would you be on it? And he goes, yeah. And it's just like, it's really, really worked out.
Yeah.
I mean, he's, you know, all I do is I always turn to him because I know he can explain all of this stuff that, you know, I mean, you pick any legal term and he can explain it. Whereas, you know, I sit here and I do my little research.
Sorry, I don't remember the rule of perpetuity, sir.
So I'll make sure that you know if I'm going to ask on that one. There was one, mens rea. That one popped up. Yeah, exactly. But I had to look it up. What the heck? First of all, it's Latin. Okay, but how does mens, all right, what does that, since I know French and Spanish, how does that relate to Latin? What's mens? It doesn't, you know, and then rea, what does rea mean? R-E-A. So between the two of them, it doesn't say competency, which is what it is. I would love to do it with that.
Competence intent, kind of.
Competence intent. We do have some special coverage on the trial for the accused killer of Marshalinsky. So, and he has tried to say that he was insane, and there have been competency hearings.
I read that just before I walked in here.
Well, thank you, dear. And I'm just wondering if that trial is ever going to take place.
I know he's, there have been some changes in attorneys. I'll put it that way.
Well,
Well, you're quoted.
yeah.
I don't go to Mike all the time, okay? But I thought, he's the Allen County prosecutor. He could weigh in on this, so I asked him to. Like, you know, what's going on here? Because the last attorney that's in that case is Andrew Madanowski, who is a big-time criminal defense attorney in Indianapolis. And it looks to me like he's wretained. So, and then Tessa's telling me that they need a new public defender. Can't get a public defender in Allen County because William Labredo, who is our Allen County Chief Public Defender, has conflicted his entire office. He says no.
Well,
Everybody knew her.
Marcia was a member of their staff.
Right, exactly.
So I think that's...
Even if they were to bring somebody new on board, I just...
But I didn't get that elaborate, but I believe the attorneys for, in the Delphi case, if you remember, that one of them was from Logansport, one of them was from Indianapolis. They were part of this group that I think the PD council has kind of a list of eligible public defenders when there is a conflict in an area that they'll bring somebody in.
All right, but yeah, there might be some difficulty in dealing with certain clients too, so I think we're seeing that unravel without defaming him.
Apparently you're allowed if you put it in a rap song.
Which I did, but I didn't name names. I know, I need to boost my song somehow because I'm terribly proud of it. I am threatening to write another one on weighted measures, but I'm too busy right now. My garden is growing. So anyway, my tulips are about to come up. So anyway, with that, we have really enjoyed having Dirk Rowley, who is the evening anchor, one of the two evening anchors, although Taylor King was on there a lot too. Did a great job.
Well, Alyssa's back.
And welcome back, Alyssa.
Taylor did great.
It's going really well over there at WANE. But anyway, we're so thankful and grateful that Dirk came on our show. You can see this one and all the other ones on www.theprobablecause.com. I wish we could just feed that in there. Or on our Facebook page, The Probable Cause, Apple and Spotify. We hope to see you again. Make sure you watch this one. And for now, we are all going to say goodbye. This episode is filmed and edited by Frosty Pictures. The Probable Cause is produced by Maumee Media.
Worried when I crossed the Michigan line, a cop from Steuben County waiting on I-69. A headlamp went out while he pulled me over. Charged me with possession after I rolled down the window.
Now that's skunk.
Indiana's a trip when it comes to weed. It's like who doesn't smoke or use gummies? Your grandpa, your brother, your rich friend from school? Hell, throw in the whole courthouse and my attorney too. It's time those assholes change these stupid laws. It ain't worth the paper for a probable cause. Sitting on a bar stool in my usual place, this guy next to me said he was looking for some cocaine. Hell, I just sold him an 8-ball with a little piece off for me. But my buyer was a cop? Should have known he was a creep. So I'm a dealer, right? You gotta be kidding. It's a rich man's drug. I just take it because I'm injured. 8 years in Westville with a monkey on my back. There's more drugs in here than you can shake a shank at. One dirty drug test, man, this system's flawed. Undercover screwed me in my probable cause. Street crimes never did me no favors. I'm hooked on Fetty. I'm a junkie, not a felon. Told that son of a bitch on the way to lockup. I can't seem to shake it. I need help, not mocking. What do you want from someone who's been through the system? Drugs all through the house before mom and dad went to prison. Throw me in jail and give me a fine? Someday I'll be dead and away from your kind. Now I'm at the courthouse in front of a judge. Can't say my public defender cares for me much. Crimes are committed on both sides of the law. God help me now with this probable cause. C-shift never gets old. Anything can happen when you're out on patrol. You think I'm just eating donuts, man? Give me a break. Nothing on this job is a piece of cake. Lights and sirens activated. This knucklehead wants to chase. Baby mama at the scene just spit in my face. Wife's worried that someday I won't be pulling up at all. You'll read about my killer in a probable cause. She went through my phone and she seen my text. I told her forget it. It was just my ex. She took a swing and knocked me flat. Man, I went wild and hit her back. Judge slapped me with a no contact order. Now she's got the kids and she's staying with her mother. So she started it all and I have to take the fall. You can read my whole story in the probable when I was young. Caught a case for dealing and did my time. Yeah, I got a record, but I was doing fine. Running my own business on the southeast side. Yeah, I got a gun. I kept it on hand. Told the cop my reason, thought he'd understand. In this neighborhood, you need some protection. Attorney thought I could get just community corrections, but the judge decided to send me to prison. Can't get ahead no matter how hard I try. Read the probable cause, it'll make you cry.
Whispers and rumors that don't get reported. Stories I write that are often distorted. Got my notebook and pen, and I'm ready to listen. Tell me the truth, I'll consider your position. I've seen killers with eyes so cold and dead, and others go to prison because of what someone said, rotting away for the rest of their lives, leaving a hole here on the outside. Things are sad here on Earth, and it's no wonder why, when you consider the sociopaths who remain in charge. It's me who sees the system for all its flaws, and I usually start with the probable cause. My right hand is reading the probable cause.